This is the 19th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, X-Zone Lures, Shoreline Boat and RV Repair, Spro, Gamakatsu, Big Bite Baits, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Yes, I am not in the studio. I am actually in, I think it's Brewerton, New York, right on the shores of Oneida Lake. Just finished up the Kurt Dove Pro Bass Camp on Oneida. He brought in 28 kids ages. Now there's some like 12-year-olds there this year. No, there's a 10-year-old there this year. Ages 10 to 18. Bring a bunch of Open EQ guys, MLF Invitational guys, Kevin Short, former two-time Elite Series champion and Open champion. And then we take the kids out for 3 days. They do seminars in the evenings, and then they have a tournament on the final day. So that tournament was yesterday for prize money. So I think it's like the 11th or 12th year that Kurt's done it. He does one every year at Amistad, 2 at Amistad, and then this year, in the last 4 years, he's done one at Oneida. So that's what I've been doing. As you can see, lounging in his beautiful back porch. It has been paid for with his angling skill. Is none other than the one and only, fresh off a win on the BPT, Jordan Lee. Jordan, thanks for jumping on BTL, a noon edition of BTL, a lunchtime edition of BTL.
Yeah, you had to cater to, my child today. Obviously, this was his downtime, his nap time. So this is why we're doing it at 11 o'clock. So sorry if it's off schedule for you.
No, it's all good. Hold on. I got to turn off the air conditioner here. I forgot. I mean, we're in a days in here. We're fancy.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like your style.
Fortunately, I could just turn it off right there. I'm getting ready for ICAST. We have a lot of things to talk about. A rousing victory on St. Clair. Was that 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah, I guess it'd be, I don't even know, man. It's probably a week and a half. Yeah, something like that.
And then you're flying out, as am I, to ICAST, which is the International. I should have looked that up. I used to remember. Do you remember? Do you know what it stands for?
Honestly, I don't.
International something and Sport Fishing Trade Show.
Yeah, that sounds right. Something like that.
International something.
Well, it wouldn't be sport fish. Well, because it wouldn't be sport fishing because that had the acronym doesn't line up for that, does it?
Sport fishing. They just take
ICAST. ICA. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
There's no P in it. I don't know. You'll have to look it up.
Let's start with the tournament, man. Lake St. Clair, a place that I think, maybe some of the rookies hadn't been there, but a lot of the former FLW guys had fished there. Yeah. A lot of the Elite Series guys had fished there. You kind of knew what to expect going in. We're at that kind of smallmouth time period frame. I think I will always associate Lake St. Clair with you and the Zone Alive episode.
Yeah.
Was that brought up a lot during this past week?
No, it wasn't brought up a lot, but it's always. It is always brought up. I mean, that was that was a pretty interesting episode that he did on Zone Alive that year, and hooking that sturgeon.
How long ago was that? Now was that 5 years ago?
It's probably been longer than that, honestly. 2000, I think 17. It was maybe it was 17 or 18. I think it was 17. So yeah, over 5 years ago.
Do you remember how that went down? So if you weren't talking about it, Zona did Zona Lives for a while, and it was having done live with the one-on-ones, which you were a part of with Jeffries, and then I think people take for granted how easily the Bass Pro Tour and the Elite Series make live television look on the internet and on FS1 and stuff, because it is a disaster between audio and cell service coverage and video cameras and guys in the boat. But Zona did Zona Live, and you had just had a good Elite Series event on St. Clair, I think, that year, hadn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I remember we just planned on going out after the tournament, right there to St. Clair, and so that was. I mean, he was excited about it. Obviously, I don't know how long he'd been doing those for.
I think it was like his second year.
Second year, yeah, and so we were just going to go out to where I'd been fishing, and the day after the tournament. So we went out there and didn't really know what to expect, and hooking up with that massive sturgeon. I just remember like setting the hook into it, and it just felt like I was hung, and then it started moving around, and I'm like, I don't have a clue. I mean, I don't know. I didn't even really think about a sturgeon, but yeah, fought it forever and lost it right at the boat. Heartbreaking loss.
That wasn't really your fault, though. Wasn't Zona monkeying with it at the side of the boat?
Well, I mean, dude, it's so big. I mean, it's like, what do you do with a, couple foot long? I mean, I don't even know how big it was. It was bigger than that.
It was like 5 or 6 foot.
Yeah. So we didn't even have a net. I can't remember if somebody gave us a net. No. Yeah, somebody gave us a net.
Yeah, because there were like 100 people watching you by the time it was over. There were people. You fought the thing so long because whoa. That thing shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, we fought it so long, and we had time that everybody was just following us around and talking to us. And I had the cape on, and then the king
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, that was because he named me the king, or whatever. He had a name for me, Jordanius Maximus or something. And so and he was wearing the gold pants, and he had a chain on, and we were just out there just, goofing off. But yeah, somebody gave us a net, and he tried to scoop it up, and it didn't get in the net, came off, broke my line, and, but it was entertaining.
I remember it was long enough that Zona invited everybody out and like told everybody where you were, basically, which see, this is what happens with Newfangled. So I have a it's like a smart stand. Yeah. And like every 30 seconds, it just goes haywire on me.
Yeah, it'll probably happen again. It's all right.
It's like technology.
Yeah.
But I remember he invited everybody out there. And by the end of it, you had a massive gallery of fans rooting and cheering you on as you fought this thing. And boats had to move out to the side. I mean, I remember I was sitting in the studio in Oklahoma, and Jeffries and I were drinking beer watching it because it was like an hour and a half long.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I guess it was entertaining. I mean, because you didn't know what was going to happen, right? You didn't know if the sturgeon was going to get in the boat. You didn't know what we were going to do with it. That would have been really entertaining if we actually got it in, because, I mean, what were we going to do with it? I mean, I guess we were just going to hold it up like a prize-winning
take
shark.
Pictures of it.
It looks like a freaking shark, though.
Are you even allowed to take those like out of?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Out of the water?
I don't know. We didn't know anything. We were just trying to get this thing in.
Have I told you about my sturgeon fish? Because it happened here on Oneida. Last year in the Open, I hooked something on 6-pound test in a Ned rig. And I remembered it. And I had just had a talk with Scott at Lakeside Outfitters about how the sturgeon were making a comeback. It's on the bucket list of things I've always wanted to catch and never have. And I hooked this thing, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go live. And I'm out on Shackleton in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Shackleton Shoals is like 5 miles long of just a jumble of humps and gravel and rock and grass. And this is going to be really annoying. I can already tell. I mean,
that's I can tell you're fired up right now.
I don't know if there's a way to lock this. Is there a way to lock this? See, then it like locks into place. What if I hit that? We'll see if I can lock that in.
New technology.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you are in a hotel room, so I mean,
I know, but it is BTL. I need to have this stuff. This is the first time I've used. I actually used it on the water with a scalp hauler for bass tank. Anyway, I hooked this thing, so I get the idea. Let's go live because I immediately think sturgeon, and
yeah,
your deal's in the back of my mind. So I go live. I get
yeah,
up to over 1,000 people watching me live. Half the other competitors are watching me live.
yeah.
You know what? There's a real easy way to fix this. Thanks for coming out.
I think you're done. Are you going to be done with this? Are you going to be done with the smart? There you go.
I may be done with the smart. I may be done with the smart sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
All right, we have that. It's not a great angle, but it'll work. So
No, it's good.
I go live. I've got like 1,000 people on. Tom in the instant feedback, he said, "Hey, I remember watching that." And a couple other people remember watching it. And then it tows me over to where Upshaw's practicing. Well, I'm buddies with Upshaw. So I get the right idea. Dude, 2-person perspective here. So while I'm fighting it, I send him an invite to collab on my live. And he's got like 30,000 followers.
You're thinking.
So now all of a sudden, I've got me, the first person angle. I'm fighting this sturgeon. And then Upshaw's following me around on the bottom half of the screen. And I'm live, and I've got 3,000 people watching me fight this thing.
Right.
Long story short, I get this thing up. It's a freaking catfish, not a sturgeon, which is not nearly as cool as a sturgeon.
Not nearly as cool. No.
Now, granted, it was probably a lake record catfish. It was a channel cat that was like over 30 pounds and just giant, full of eggs. Yeah. But I have never. I mean, we were talking about how I was going to like jump in the water, and he was going to take the picture with it and stuff, kind of like what you guys were doing.
Yeah.
And it was a freaking jet black channel catfish, about 30 pounds. And as soon as it came up and it was a cat, the viewership went down to like 100.
Yeah.
So I show up this year and I walk into the tackle shop and Scott goes, "Planning on catching any sturgeon this year?" So that was my sturgeon story. But
you got catfish.
Yeah. So did you catch him in the same general area that you always catch him on St. Clair this time around? I mean, what'd you average like with the 2 rounds and the other rounds, around 23 a day?
Yeah, I think what I read, I had 90, I had 94 for 4 days. So whatever that averages to, probably 20, a little over 23 a day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I didn't catch them in the same general area, which I fished there. I think this is my 5th tournament there, and I've had mixed results. I've fished the open there 10 years ago, and finished mid 100s. Went back for an elite, got a check. Went back for that elite and came in 4th. Led for a couple days, missed a cut MLF barely, and this time won. But yeah, this was the first time I've actually fished in Canada.
Okay.
This was the first time I fished in Canada. Out of all the times I actually fished there, some of that being because of COVID, you weren't allowed to go in Canada the last time or 2 we've been there, I think. So I just completely went to new areas and stuff like that. I didn't have too much knowledge over there.
Was Canada open during practice, or did you have to kind of free roll it? Did it open right as the tournament started?
Yeah, it opened the first day of the tournament, so it was.
So you went over there blind?
Yeah, I went over there blind. Well, we could go over there in practice, but you couldn't make a cast. Your rods were supposed to be up. I mean, they didn't have to be, I guess, but you couldn't make a cast. But I just had there's a B. I had my rods, in the rod locker the whole time, and that was tough to go over there. That was my mindset going in. I'm doing this. I don't care. I don't care if I come in dead last. I'm going over here and fish. I'm going to fish over here in the tournament. And that's what I did. I mean, it was really hard though to go over there, even with a dropping an aqua view. I've never done that before, but it's not very easy. You're not seeing a big distance.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I was idling around trying to look for places where I think they would be, but dropping a camera down, maybe seeing a smallmouth here and there. But yeah, the first day of the tournament was the first day we could actually make a cast.
All right, I want to get into this. So the aquaview thing, the cat's out of the bag, but the bag is near the cat still. The cat is like 3/4 out of the bag. There's like a leg left in the bag. The guys up north, the guys who catch smallmouth, that aquaview has been a lethal weapon for them over the past 5+ years. I know there's some guys that talk a little bit about it. Gussie will talk a little bit about it. The majority of the guys are not talking about the fact that they're dropping aquaview cameras down on these smallmouth because you can tell size, you can tell school size, you can tell bottom composition, you can tell the bait fish, the gobies that are around there.
Yeah.
Especially when you have good light penetration, good clarity. Was the entire field, were there 80 guys with aquaview cameras and little 8-inch screens over in Canada dropping on them, or was that something kind of sneaky? And how did you end up doing that?
Well, I didn't own an aquaview, and I probably would never. I mean, I didn't realize how many guys use that. I knew guys did, but I'm always, I guess, if I see them on active target or sonar or whatever, and they bite, then I kind of know. I don't know. You can kind of get a feel for it, I guess, fishing, but I definitely dropping it. I mean, there wasn't that many guys probably with aqua views. I mean, some guys obviously had them, but not being able to fish and you're just randomly kind of dropping it out there. I mean, you can see on St. Clair, but it wasn't. I mean, I found one place that I really caught fish because of it, and probably won the tournament. It helped me win the tournament, but there wasn't like everybody was over there dropping cameras down and seeing all these smallmouth swimming around everywhere. You could definitely see them, but it wasn't like that. I mean, it was a pretty big gamble going over there.
Why don't you think guys are complaining online about aqua views, but they are live scope? Like, why is? I mean, maybe I haven't seen it, but why have we not seen a Randy Blockett rant on aqua views right now? I mean, it's a freaking actual live camera. Now you can use it in practice, but not during the tournament, right?
Yeah, I think you can use it during the tournament.
Oh, you can use it during the tournament too.
Yeah.
Why have we not seen the massive outrage with live HD cameras underwater with fish actually eating your bait? Where's the magic and mystery of that? I mean, it seems like it's a completely double whatever that.
I guess because you can't see with the aqua view unless you're in really, really clear water. So you're talking about the Great Lakes, St. Lawrence, smallmouth fishing. I guess that's the only reason, because I mean, if you could drop it on just anywhere and see fish, I mean, I guess it would be different, but it just doesn't get utilized a lot. You don't see a lot.
Rock.
Yeah, maybe you just don't see a lot of people doing it. I don't know, because it is time consuming. It is kind of a hassle to drop it down. I had it at the back and I had it hooked up to my unit. So I would just drop it down and just basically just drift across. I mean, it's not easy to really use. Like,
can you tell which way it's facing, or is it just a cable down there with the?
Well, yeah, you can. So when I talked to the guy there at Aquaview, he sent me. I got a few things from him, and he sent this like fin that goes on the back of the camera, which will actually, when you're it helps troll, like when you're trolling it, it'll keep the camera up and it like vibrates. It feels like almost like it feels like a chatterbait down there. So the camera stays upright and it's made for trolling. So it sits up and the smallmouth, like the ones that I was seeing, were actually following the camera.
Really? So you just be trolling. You have it set up on your units to where it's like and it's just like you're idling, but you've got a live camera down there. It's just murk, smallmouth.
Yeah, you couldn't see, you couldn't go fast. So you couldn't even have and there's probably a way to do it where you could go fast, add weights to it, but the camera would rise if you were actually on the big motor. So I was just like literally slow drifting like across stuff just to see like if I could see anything or the grass or trying to get a feel for what was going on. But they would actually follow the camera. It was pretty cool. And, I'd hit a waypoint and, oh man, a lot of places like the place I started at, I had probably 7, 8 marks there where I was seeing smallmouth and, I only caught one there, so that was kind of weird, but I never dropped it down in the tournament. I was tired of looking at that camera.
I got you. Your brother's on here talking all sorts of crap.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I don't see the chat.
Hey, I will say, Quad Lock making a big push in the fishing market, reaching out, doing all sorts of cool stuff. Good products. I probably need a Quad Lock stand for the camera. They probably make something like that I can do that isn't gonna go electric on me. And then also, guys saying that they've been using AquaView for 25 years, especially when ice fishing. That there's a bunch of other ways for them too. Says it slays at ice fishing. Try and catch one outside the spawn with an AquaView.
Yeah, I'm not dialed in on the AquaView game. Like I said, this was my first time.
Dude, I think there's about like a dozen guys that are, and I've gotten one to talk about it on the show.
Yeah, see, I don't know much about it, so I guess
like it's a thing. It's a real thing. Like there's guys that are using it that are not talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't care to talk about anything. There's no real secrets anymore. But I'll tell you what's cool about the AquaView that I wish I could have dropped where I won the tournament.
You could have, couldn't you?
I could have, but I didn't. I didn't bring it out there.
Okay.
But it just to see what was cool in St. Clair is to see the actual bottom and like to see what was on the bottom because there's literally nothing, and it's like you think it's like sand, but it's not. It's like sand, but it's got like moss over the top of it, and then there's just like this grass that looks really thick on your sonar. Like you'd be idling and be like, man, this grass is thick. Well, you drop a camera down there and it'd be pretty sparse. Like, the fish would swim around in there.
You could fish it and it wouldn't look fishable on your 2D.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool to see the bottom. But I mean, St. Clair is a great place for it. And all those smallmouth lakes I could see.
Tournament wise, then you obviously won. You had a big weight. I think if you combined all 4 of your days, you're at what, like 95, 96 pounds, something like just shy of 100.
It was 94.
94. As a whole, do you think the fishing fans, after seeing all these up north, have become numb to just how impressive a 23-pound bag of smallmouth is, especially after what we've seen out of Ontario and stuff? It just seems like when it first hit 90, you were part of it there on the Elite when it was like, are we going to hit 100? Is there going to be 100 pound? Is there a century belt? And it was like, the Johnsons might do it this year. That might happen this year. And then, obviously Coop went over the 100-pound mark, but I feel like people don't understand how impressive 94 pounds of smallmouth is. Do you feel that too? Like people get numb to big bags of smallmouth?
I think the fans get numb to just the smallmouth fishing in general. Maybe not the big bags of smallmouth, but just the drop shots and looking at the screens now. And it's still cool, I'm sure, to watch. And a lot of people probably
not Cooper. Sorry, Jay Shakurit.
Oh yeah, I'm sure people get like to watch big smallmouth get caught, but when you're in that open water and there's nothing to like really see, I think the fans get more numb to that than maybe the weight size. But I mean, yeah, I think the guys who fish there probably St. Clair and all these lakes, they're still like, wow, he caught 100 pounds of smallmouth. Like that's still pretty cool to
So how do we remedy that? Is it going different times of the year? Is it just that's how smallmouth are always going to be caught? Because obviously you guys are going to do what you got to do to put the most weight in the boat, regardless of how exciting, quote unquote, it is to the viewers. But is there a way to make the smallmouth fishing tournaments exciting?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think one thing would help, which we saw, I think Bassmaster did it this year, where you got all the guys' screens on live, like it pops up, they're showing me, and then, my active target is on the screen with it, and then you see me talking through, like, you throw over there and you see 3 go down on it and you're like, oh, I think he's fixing to get it, then you set the hook. Yeah, that would make it more, to me, more viewer friendly. If you had, like at least maybe the final day where you had 10 guys where you could, have it dialed in before the final day, and then, watching them kind of talk through it. I mean, I feel like that's probably the best thing for the smallmouth fishing, to make it more viewer friendly. I mean, that's a no brainer to me, and I don't really know why they haven't done that yet. I mean, I feel like it'd be pretty easy to talk to Lawrence and Garmin and Humminbird and be like, everybody's got the forward facing. You want to sell more, active targets and live scopes and whatever Humminbirds is called. You want to sell more of these? I mean, yeah, let's put it on the screens with them. A little bottom shot. I mean, I think that'd be a great idea.
It is definitely, when you can see the screen, it does make it a lot more exciting.
Yeah,
because I've got Scoper's neck right now from being out on. I went out on Ontario, which was not off limits because the Open's river only, and then Oneida. And I've got the mounts that I can raise up, but you still are looking down. It's not eye level. Back of the neck peeling like nobody's business. I had to go hood the last 3 days because it's like a different color of my body on the back of the neck. I didn't know skin could get that dark. I'm like, that probably took 5 years off my life.
yeah, it kind of looked like me out there idling for them skews
Yeah.
back in the day. Just
what is your hook to land ratio on those 4 to 5 pounders? It didn't seem like you lost very many fish at all. Like as a whole over the course of your career, I mean, if you hook 100 4-pound smallmouth on a little single hook deal and a spinning rod, and I mean we're not talking like spy baits on 4-pound test, 6 to 8 pound test, 10-pound test, drop shot hook, flatworm, something along that. Out of those 100, how many do you expect to land?
It's St. Clair. My hookup ratio was close to 100.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was throwing that bigger hook, and that's one reason I was throwing a little bit bigger bait, which, guys are throwing bigger baits on St. Clair. They eat bigger stuff. It's not a secret, but when you're threading, and they were just absolutely swallowing it, so that helped. But I was throwing a bigger bait, which allowed me to throw a bigger hook. I could jack on them pretty good, and I feel like the smaller, and I wouldn't lose any with it. But when I'm, you're throwing a little number 1 and number 2 drop shot hook, you are going to lose fish. But that's why I really like that setup out there. But at St. Lawrence, you're not really throwing a bigger bait and a bigger hook, so you're going to lose them. But it's not, you're going to lose a couple. But I mean, it's just like anything else. I don't feel like if they're pinned good, they can come up and jump as many times as they want. But it's different out there. You don't have the current stuff, and they're not as hard to maybe get in on the setup I was using.
Yeah, Clay pointed that out too. So as I try to catch them up north here, the last 3 years have started going smaller and smaller hooks. You're saying you think it's a better hook to land ratio with a bigger hook?
Well, I was throwing a bigger hook. I was throwing a bigger bait.
Just because your bait, yeah.
Yeah, I was throwing a 5-inch,
Mm-hmm.
A 5-inch max scent, the jerk shad, which is like a 5
big bait.
Yeah. So I've done a 2/0 straight shank robo hook,
Mm-hmm.
and threaded on there, and I mean, like I said, they were pretty much swallowing it. So but you put a smaller hook, and the fish are getting finickier, and these fish weren't finicky at all. But if you go to some place where they are, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of one of those deals. I mean, you swap hooks around and you catch a lot of fish, and then you lose a couple, but it's not like, yeah, I've never had an issue with smallmouth coming off, like a bad issue on a drop shot.
We're gonna kind of take a break after I get this last question to knock it out. Obviously, ICAST 2023 coming up in Orlando. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you're flying from Alabama down to Orlando tomorrow. I'm up in New York, left my rig, unhooked it, left it somewhere. I'm flying down tomorrow morning as well. Is this the first time you've won just prior to going to ICAST? I know you've won a lot, but I'm trying to think of like the tournaments that you've won. I mean, this is the last tournament prior to going to ICAST.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
That's got to be big for your career to be able to walk in there with your sponsors, representing your sponsors, talking to all the media, all the buyers, all the representatives are there and saying, well, this is what this is what I did. This is what I did. I mean, do you think you do get a little bit of extra pop winning before ICAST? And obviously there's a break kind of right there in July with all the tours. It seems like probably the ideal week to win a major event if you're going to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking about that before going down. It couldn't really happen at a better time. I mean, you got, after ICAST, you have one or two more tournaments, major tournaments, and then, you get into like sponsor renewals and stuff like that. But yeah, going into ICAST with just winning an event, I feel like it's definitely going to be pretty cool. And everybody pretty much knows about it that's there, at least in our bass fishing industry. So it is a big deal to lock one up, just going in there. And I mean, not saying it's gonna be a life-changing deal, but it is really a great time to win an event going into that our biggest trade show. So I am looking forward to that, and it was definitely a cool time to win.
You've got a unique situation because you said the word life-changing experience happened so young in your career. And when you were so young, that your entire career was ahead of those back-to-back classic wins. So there's a lot of guys who probably go to 10 or 15 ICASTs and they're grinding it and they're working it, and then they win, be it a Red Crest, be it a Classic, be it an Angler of the Year, and then they get to see that change after they've grinded for 10 years. You kind of jumped in, win-win, and kind of took off from there. Is there anything at this point you think that you can win that would be a life-changing event? Or are we talking like legacy wins now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah,
it's a weird question to answer. I mean, but yeah, it's a valid question.
Yeah, it's a valid question, I guess. I mean, I don't really like talking about it, but there's nothing. Yeah, there's not an event now I feel like I can win that's going to just be like, besides the money. I mean, it's still a lot of money, whatever you look at. If it's a Classic or a Red Crest, I mean, that's the two biggest. Which is, I mean, yeah, that's still a lot of money that you can do something with. But yeah, there's not an event that I'm going to win now that I'm going to be like, man, this changed my career. Feel like it happened. I mean, obviously it happened early for me. Now it's just about different things in the industry. Like, I mean, or not in the industry, but different things for me, like, my social presence and what I do with, camera guys, and do I do that? YouTube, how you pretty much treat, and going forward, how you adapt to everything that's changing with social media. And you've seen a lot of guys bring camera guys out. And like, that's really the thing for me that's that's different, I guess, especially after you win something that's a big tournament you could do. But there's not
Have you thought about doing that? Have you thought about doing the full-time camera guy?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it. I bounced the idea around, just it hadn't worked out for me.
Like, what is next though? Because I mean, you can only have so many full-time camera guys. Then you got you had one guy that was doing it, then a couple, then you take a different angles, and then it always seems like those angles are saturated. Like, what is? I'm always trying to think like what one step ahead, and I'm trying to figure what is the next cool way to cover this that hasn't already been done 6 different ways.
Yeah, I guess I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, the whole camera thing, bring a camera guy along and following everything. I think it's cool. I think some guys do a great job with it. I enjoy watching those tournaments from their, from their side of things. You get to see a lot more behind the scenes stuff, which is cool. But I don't know. I mean, from an angler standpoint, it's hard to balance that. Like, is it worth it? That's always the question for an angler. Like, am I going to gain way more sponsors from this? Am I going to do a better job for the sponsors if 50,000 people see this? Like, what's that turn into? And that's something you kind of got to balance out through your head. But it just hadn't been in the books for me yet. But at some point it could be. But I mean, I hadn't really seen the value of it to this point, but it's out there. The value's there. It just depends on who you are.
And then that's based on your sponsors too, on what they see as valuable too. So like you win on St. Clair. Walk me through, like, do you have sponsors calling you saying, hey, can you send me a 30-second deal on this? Can we do this? We got to work on this? Do they just call and say congratulations? Like, does that kind of depend based on like company and product on how they try to capitalize on a win?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really up to the angler and on and the kind of the tournament scenario, right? Like where you win at, what you win on. Is it a bait that guys have won on already? Like I won on a bait, I guess that's not everybody has probably in the max scent line. So I don't know how many people have bought it or how many they've sold or what that even looks like when you win a tournament. Because granted, a lot of tournaments I've won haven't been on sponsor baits. I've won on a array of baits.
Homemade.
And, the way homemade
direct competitors, everything.
Competitors, yeah.
And they're cool with that. Like you don't get called into the office by the big dog and they're like, dude, like we're paying you money and you seriously just won this event on camera on a different bait. Like, why the hell are you with us? Like, if that's what, like, how does that go down?
No, it goes down like that.
It does go down like that. Like, like you're on the water smashing them going, oh, this is going to suck next week because I'm going to get a call from the man.
Yep. It's kind of frustrating. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't won that many events, but the ones that I've won on different different baits, that has been something that goes through your mind. And it goes through a lot of anglers' minds. Like when you're catching them, you're like, man, do I need to change to something, sponsor bait to, catch some fish on this? That's gone through my mind, but a lot of times I'm like, no, I want to win. This is what I got confidence in, and there may be something to it. I'm just going to go with it. And then if they say something, hey, sorry. But this one was a good win for me mentally and for sponsors because I was using everything and I was confident in it. And I thought it was the deal. And that's what I'm always going to do. And that's what a lot of anglers are going to do too. If they think it's the deal and they think they're confident in what they're using and it's going to catch them one more fish, it's going to land one more fish, it's worth it. Like I would rather win a tournament on a non-sponsored product than come in second and third and fourth fishing everything you're supposed to fish with because, granted that matters more.
Yeah. I will say I did have a co-angler at Eufaula he brought like 4 rods and half of them were J. Lee Signature Series gray and yellow rods. And I just said, hey, you like them? He's like, dude, these things are freaking awesome. He's like, I love these things. I was like, okay, cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'll have to get you on the. I'll have to get you on the team next. He was a co-angler at one of the opens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Cool.
he was actually just getting into tournament fishing. It's kind of a cool story. He was I think it was him. Yeah, because I didn't have one the other day. He was a former lead singer of a heavy metal rock band, and he toured for like 15 years. Now he's got like a regular job and stuff. And he was like, dude, my buddy, like something happened where he couldn't, and he's like, I just got into this like 2 years ago.
That's cool.
So we're sitting there, and he's like, oh, that's cool. So it was cool, but it was also kind of messed up because he knew who Milliken was, because I said hi to Milliken before the tournament started. And then I was like, hey, you see that white boat over there with the BPS logo? I said, that's Rick Clun. And he said, who? And I said, oh, we're going to have a history lesson. We're going to have a history lesson before we take off.
Yeah, that hurts your feelings probably. Yeah, that hurts your feelings.
Dude, it was cool, though, to see Rick out there. It's like 100 degrees. It's like 3 days before the tournament starts, and he's just grinding a square bill on riprap with the big rim hat. Dude, he's got, like, he doesn't have to be out there in the opens on Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma in the end of June. Like 105 degrees 3 days before the tournament. That's a dude who just loves to still fish.
Yeah, no doubt. He loves tournaments for sure.
All right, you want to talk weird stuff or cool stuff or exciting stuff, but I like talking weird stuff. ICAST when we come back and take a break.
Let's do it.
All right, it's BTL semi on location. Yeah, I mean we're at a location that's not the studio, so it's BTL on location. I'm in New York. Jordan is in Alabama, and we will be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top on Strike King.
So I'm a big guy, you know, a lunker, a two sandwich eating kind of man. And on behalf of all of those bigger, I gotta say it once and for all, it's bad enough that the fish look smaller in our hands. The last thing we should have to worry about is getting quality outdoor clothing that fits. Avco, any fish, any water.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
All right, welcome back, BTL on a Monday, a special lunch edition. We started the show with a fancy DJI automated stand and headsets and different mics, and now we're back to normal audio with it propped on a single cup coffee maker. So, hey, that's how we roll.
I know. I like it. You made it work. It's all about adapting, right?
It's all of it. What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you on the water in a tournament, like logistically wise, where you were like outside of the classic win where you went and caught 27 pounds, but just like a total debacle of a day? Have you ever had one of those where you were just like, dude, I'm scared to even look at my own shadow?
Oh, I've been pretty lucky with breakdowns and stuff like that. I mean, I remember, I don't know if it was in practice. I think it was in practice at the Chesapeake Bay. I beached my boat out on a sandbar. And I think it was practice. And I had to get like Lucas or my brother. Like, I was stuck there for, hours. But in a tournament, like, is that what you're talking about, like breaking down or anything like that? A long ways off. I don't have any like crazy stories that I can remember. That was the one that comes to mind though, because I was like absolutely beached. But
I feel like as technology improves and cell phones and access and everything just gets better, there's less and less wild stories. Like, if you sit down with like Mark Davis.
Yeah.
Or any of those guys, Clark Wendlandt, any of those dudes, like they can just go on for hours about like times where they're like, and I'd still be out there if Jim hadn't driven by.
Yeah, I towed a guy in that would still be out there one time on Lake Huron. I was practicing, I think it was an open or something on St. Clair, and I went out to Huron, the mouth of the river, and I was like, saw this boat in the distance on Huron, and the dude was like waving his hands, and the wind was smoking, and I went out there, and he's like, dude, I broke down, and like, he couldn't troll, and cell service was spotty, so
it was sketch.
It was sketch. Like, I mean, I was like, dude, this dude would have been out there, so I told him, like, it took me a couple hours, but yeah, he'd still be out there.
All right, let's talk ICAST, everyone's favorite thing. Do you have your opening line? Hey, guys, Jordan Lee here, ICAST 2023, coming to you from the Berkeley booth. Want to talk to you about the new Max Scent shapes. I mean, that's how it's going to go down.
That's how it's going to go down, but I'm probably, man, I get tired of saying, hey, who I am at ICAST. Yeah. I'm just going to be like, look, here's a new bait out from Berkeley. Buy it if you want. Buy it if you want. I really don't care, but this is what it
is. Speaking of new stuff, it seems like Berkeley comes out with new stuff every freaking day now.
Yeah.
Bunch of new stuff at ICAST. And then do you have to do like homework to learn about all this stuff before you go, regardless of whether it's a Pure Fishing or in another sponsor or something? Like, I mean, how do you know about this stuff when you go? Or do you just get tossed in and you get a crash course right before the gates open?
Yeah. I mean, most of the time I go there and I'm like, I've never seen this bait before. Like, yeah, I learn about it in the like, they'll send me something, like a week before, and I may know about it, but like, I've never thrown the bait, most of the time. So I'm kind of just checking it out when I'm there, if it's something brand new. But there'll be something at Berkeley's booth that I haven't seen yet, probably.
Can you remember any ICASTs where there was a bait that you just had to go see in person that you hadn't seen yet that you'd heard about? Because I vividly remember like scouring ICAST to find the man's booth to see an Alabama rig for the first time.
Yeah.
Like the actual Alabama rig, because everything was sold out. That happened in October with Elias. Then that was the next freaking July. But like all the ones I had seen, they were immediately sold out. I'd seen pictures of them, but to actually see the man's one was like 6-7 months after the dang thing explode.
Yeah. I can't remember anything, but I mean, most of the time, I don't even get to walk around and see everything, but there's probably been only a few baits. Like, I'm sure the chatterbait was one of those top baits where, guys saw it there at ICAST when they first came out with it. But most of the time, you don't like a bait that there's
Like all the
no,
live target stuff. Like I always back in the heyday of the live target, I always made sure to go by the live target to see which animal they had molded into clear plastic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like go around searching that because I already know like what works and what doesn't. But there'll be something at ICAST that'll probably be a bait that's good. But I mean, dude, now it's all Japanese stuff that comes out that
With
guys
zero action.
Yeah, like I mean, that's what everything's turning into is like, Japan based tackle, JDM stuff that's probably not even at ICAST that that everybody's just raving about, trying to get their hands on, and all these glide baits. That's all these handmade glide baits that guys are wanting and trying to get. Like they're not even going to be there at ICAST. So ICAST is just basically just redoing different tackle for the most part. Like there's probably nothing there that's going to be like. I say there's nothing that's going to be there that's going to wow me, but I'm not going to see it and be like, wow, I can catch them on that bait.
What's the last bait that did wow you?
The last bait that did wow me, probably probably the depths that Sakamata shad, guys that been throwing that, shaking the jig head over the top of fish, something a little different.
Will you tell that story?
What,
Will
me
you
and
tell
Jake?
that story about shaking it with Jacob Wheeler, where I was talking on the show about how Jacob had the different stuff. I mean, I'm going to tell it in a roundabout way, but you called and were like, "Dude, you're wrong." On the show, it wasn't that he had secret spots; it's that he just outfished everybody with a
Yeah, I mean,
bait.
so like the whole jig head minnow shaking it over, like basically glorified crappie fishing. I knew about it like for a while now. Like Taku went with me a couple years back, and I mean, he caught some fish on it, but it was definitely like, yeah, Jacob was fishing, Gunnersville we're talking about,
Yeah,
like,
where he won by a lot,
yeah, he won by a lot, and
very easily.
yeah, and I mean, I threw that bait, and I couldn't ever catch him on it. Like Matt was throwing it, we couldn't catch him on it, and other guys were probably throwing it and couldn't catch him on it, and fishing some of the same spots as Jacob, but I mean, how in tune he is with just everything when it comes, especially that's his wheelhouse is ledge fishing. But I mean, we pulled up on the exact same spot. Third day of the tournament, fish had not been there that I knew about in practice. They showed up there. There was a big school fish there the day before. That morning, they were a little scattered out. Me and Jake, I pull up right behind Jacob. I'm like, dude, I was coming here. Sorry. I'm going to fish here with you. Is that cool? Yeah, he's like, yeah, I don't care. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm fixing to probably get smoked by Jacob here. And his first cast, I'm like, I'll give you first cast. Dude, he did not throw it out there 5 seconds. Hooked up. I hadn't even made a cast yet. Like, I was literally waiting for him to make the first throw to see where he's going to throw so I didn't throw over him. He throws out there, hits the water, sinks probably. I mean, I'm fixing to cast. He's hooked up, and I don't even cast, obviously. I'm just sitting there. Like most guys maybe have thrown in there right where he hooked one, but I'm like just watching him like, are you serious? Well, he gets it in. He's like, I don't think it's a bass. I don't think it's a bass. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's going to be a 7-pounder. It's a drum. But the crazy, just sitting there fishing, against them, like on the same spot, just, his different rotation of baits and him catching them on that bait, it just was, he wasn't throwing the one I'm talking about, but he was throwing his own you know, bait that's similar to that.
That they're coming out with at ICAST.
Yeah, they're coming out with ICAST, which, yeah, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. Like, he's just really, I mean, I can only get him to follow it. They were following mine, you know, like crazy. And it's just so, the fishing has become so technical, and you have to have the right line, the right jig head. If you want to, like, win a big tournament, especially on pressured fish, like, everything has to be perfect. Jig head. He may not sound like, you know, he may not go into those details as much, but I promise you, like, everything has to be right, and to get him to bite, especially on Gunnersville post spawn. And I mean, he just showed that to me. I mean, I was blown away. The places he was fishing, catching that kind of weight, you know, he just knows how to make them bite.
All right, back to ICAST. So you'll go that whole show and won't walk around at least?
I'll try to, but right now, I mean, I'll try to, but probably not. Yeah, I'll be in a booth somewhere. So I mean, I'll walk past somewhere and maybe look, but I mean, it's literally just, it's hard to, unless somebody says, "Hey, you got to go check this out." Like, I won't walk around.
There's a number of different functions for ICAST. It's not open to the public. You have to be a media editorial, a buyer, someone in the industry in order to go. It's not crazy hard to get, I mean, credentials for it. But it's not like you can't just show up and walk in. Your primary reason for being there, though, do you ever talk to like the buyers and stuff where you're like, hey, man, you got to have this in your store? Or are there buyers that talk to you that say, do you think this would be good for my region? Or are you primarily there to do videos with media guys? Like, what would you say your role as an angler is at ICAST?
Yeah, so at ICAST, it's different than other shows like the Big Rock Show in Nashville. They have that every year. I go to that. That's a lot of buyers come in, and I'm more hands-on with the buyers, telling them, hey, you know, they have a store in Utah. I'm trying to figure out what they need, and I try to help them out on that. But at ICAST, it's more videos for, you know, media.
So you're like the show pony there. You're the shiny guy that they put out front.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and honestly, I was talking with Kristen about it, my wife, and I was like, you know, what's weird about ICAST, man, I'm not saying it's not important, but I mean, there's a couple main buyers, right? And some of them probably aren't even there. Like, you got Tackle Warehouse, you have Bass Pro, which is probably a lot of these, you know, Berkeley and whoever, their biggest account, but I don't even think Bass Pro's there. It's a lot of smaller, I'm not saying they're not important, but it's smaller media that may not have the reach as a lot of the pro staff, let's say, influencers, things like that. To me, like, especially during the COVID years, like, we didn't go to ICAST, and which I know that was different because, you know, during COVID, sales spiked, people were fishing more. But I don't know, like, so I kind of question to myself when I'm there and doing videos, like, I don't ever see the videos again. I'm like, where was this? What was this for? You know, like, how many baits did this sell, or how many people did this reach? You know, and so that's like kind of goes through my mind there times. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is important, but could it be done virtually, or could they just say, hey, all your pro staff and all these influencers just post about this, and there's a lot of people are going to see it.
Yeah, because I mean, you've had a lot of signature series lines. Didn't you have a bunch of baits come out one year, like last year or 2 years ago, and then the Rod and Reel lineup?
Yeah, a few years back. It's been a while, but there's always a couple baits that, you know, pop out of ICAST. But I mean, like the best in show, and like I know a lot of companies want to win that, the best. Yeah. You know.
But that's another thing. We've talked about this before. Like, okay, you win the best in show thing, but can you show that translates to any? Because if you're outside the industry and you're a regular guy, like you don't even know what the hell ICAST is. So you can promote that it got ICAST best in show. But then the other thing that I find interesting is, like, a lot of the stuff, like how do you have a best in show bait that no one's used? So you're going on looks then.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing could be a dud in the water.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, something one year, I mean, a spider could be when best in show. So, I mean, for like us.
I've caught one on the spider. You haven't bought a lunker hunt spider at Walmart and said, I'm going to friggin' fish this thing till one. Don't lie to me.
No, absolutely.
You haven't done that? Absolutely. I got a white one and a black, the ghost and the black widow. And I was like, I'm going to catch one on a spider just to catch one on a spider.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of cool, but to win best in show, did that win best in show?
I don't know. I remember one year a rock with a swivel in it did. Rocky Brook sinker, Stony Brook sinkers. I always talk about it on the show, but it's literally a rock that they drill a hole in and then put a swivel in. So it was supposed to mask your drop shot. So now it's just a river rock rolling down.
Yeah, I'm sure that thing's fire.
I don't know if they're still around. I think Stony Brook, Stony Rock, something like that. Sinkers. I think.
You don't even know what size. So how do you know what size weight you're getting? They're all different.
They weigh them and put them in the package. No, they are. I mean, they are very sharp. If I remember correctly, Charlie Evans was a big proponent of those. Like, hey, everybody, welcome back to LW Tour.
Shot rock mixed in with your 1/4 ounce rocks.
Yeah, you just have a tackle box of rocks. You've never seen that?
Yeah, I think I've seen it. Yeah, I did see those. I didn't know that one best in show.
Oh yeah, the Yeti bucket one. See, guys on the instant feedback, they pay attention to what wins.
Yeah,
the Yeti bucket one best of show.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Berkeley won it last year with the Gilly.
Yeah, and then there was a lot of people that were really upset over that because, well, I mean, pretty much everything that you come over with is you can find, because people don't realize that the mag draft is another version of another bait. Like the mag draft isn't the original for megabass.
No,
there's like another mag draft that was out before the mag draft.
Oh,
but then you copy that and everybody's like, oh, it's a mag draft, but no one looks at the mag draft and says, oh, it's a whatever was before that.
Yeah, it's just because what was popular. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of question that, and I don't know. There's things about ICAST and I just don't understand. I just think about, you go to ICAST, you see all these companies there. I'm curious to know what companies don't go to ICAST, but like you just see what all the money that's spent at ICAST, and you're like, man, like what could these companies do with the money and putting it elsewhere to translate that into sales? Like sometimes I just think about that, and I'm like,
but dude, in that same breath, it is nice to get everybody in the same spot.
Oh yeah,
the bait's there in their hands. You get to go to dinner with the guys that
it's important.
It's a big wheel that works, and everybody kind of has their spot in it. And you get to kind of meet the guys, the developers, and the moneymaker guys, and then you're the angler guys and the media guys, and it just kind of brings everybody together. And they have the state of the industry breakfast and.
There's a lot of so it's in person. So I think, I mean, you're totally right. Like, I'm not saying ICAST is just,
no, I mean, there's certain aspects, and especially of you, I mean, you're not a huge people person. Let's be honest. Like, you'd rather be out on the lake fishing or hanging out with the family. Wow. You're not like, oh, lots of people, let's go.
Yeah, I guess you're right on that sense of thing. But it is important to have everybody there and to be under one roof, and like, there is deals that happen there, especially for the companies that are important. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I think we got some cool stuff coming out, which I mean, I think the guys at Berkeley doing a good job of coming out with baits that we're able to fish with, and so I'm looking forward to that, which is, I think that's every company. I mean, I'm curious to see what else is coming out that that I'll probably end up buying.
That'll work. Anything else? What time you fly out tomorrow? You got one of those early morning flights? I was smart. I don't fly out till noon.
Yeah, I think I fly in at 5 in the evening.
Oh, okay. So you're just there. Yeah. You're in there for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Yeah. When is the first day of the show actually?
I think they've got some stuff that kicks off on Tuesday, like some fishing tournaments and then the on the water stuff. Did you ever? What's that?
I've never fished the tournament.
Yeah, neither have I.
Are you what boots are you going to be at? Big Bot Bait?
I'm going with BTL. Like, I mean, I got to, that's how the show. That's how I make my living is through the sponsorship with the show, because it sure as hell isn't fishing the opens.
So are you going to be like at BTL? So you're going to be like setting up sponsorship deals down there? Y'all going to have a booth or like what do y'all?
No, not booths. So I mean, I'll be going around as editorial content to where I'll spend time looking for things that I think would be good content for BTL. Whether it's an interesting story from a guy who has a booth there, a new bait, existing baits, current trends in the industry, the best of shows, setting up interviews, things like that. Like that's the lion's share of why I'm there. I mean, that's what my badge is: Bass Talk Live editorial, media editorial content. And then also looking to 2024, because what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of those budgets and schedules are set now. This is where they start kind of getting a picture of what the year looks like. And I think it's an interesting year this year. See if you agree. Is with that COVID spike, a positive spike in fishing sales, it's kind of getting back to where it had been before that. And we saw that the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Too. So now it's very interesting going forward. Plus there's a lot of major deals and changes and big money and a lot of stuff that's way above my pay grade or understanding that's going on right now in the industry too. So I think this could be a pretty interesting year.
Yeah. Well, I need to talk to you off record to hear about all these big money deals and stuff. Hey, one more thing before you let me go. Give me a quick recap on Oneida, because I've never fished there. I talked to you before the deal. You said you've been up there fishing doing the Was the fishing good?
Yeah, dude, Oneida's really come back. I always, when I covered Oneida, I always remember the Angler of the Year race that Todd Faircloth kind of had a stranglehold on and came to Oneida, and I think he caught like 3 for 7 pounds each day. I remember Chad Griffin catching them on 20-pound fluorocarbon on a Zell pop.
On the popper on 20-pound fluoro.
Yeah, I remember Yusuke Miyazaki just hooking one and just hollering every time it jumped. Oh, when it jumped, because I mean it was up and down. But back then it was, obviously with what Biffle had done, and then Rojas and Steve Kennedy as well, the largemouth were real prevalent. Biffle in 06, I think it was either 06 or 07. I think it was 06. Kind of showed everybody that you could power flip shallow. Then you had Kennedy with the Cinco, Rojas with the Pop and Frog, and then guys were punching the grass. But you're talking 15 to 17 pounds. Really, the only serious contender for smallmouth back then was when Jeff Creek finished second, and he was fishing a tube open water for schooling smallies. But the smallies just weren't big enough to contend. Well, they got through the canal, and they're in the lake now, and they've been in the lake for the last 4 or 5 years. Then I think 6 or 7 years ago, they had a fish kill. No, the fish kill happened when the gobies came in. There's a bunch of different theories. I've been talking to locals about what happened, but pretty much a lot of fish, a lot of the largemouth, a lot of the shallow fish died, and it sucked for a number of years. And now it's coming back. There's really good vegetation in it. There's just an abundance of forage, gobies. There's American shad in here now. That have been here for 4 or 5 years. There's actually blueback herring. Not very many of them, but those. Frank Scalish did a thing about blueback, and I'm like, yeah, dude, you're wrong on that. And I started doing some research and found some research projects on blueback herring that are coming through like Onondaga, through the canal, through the Locken Dam.
They're going to have like herring baits make it up there like they do it like Lanier. You're going to see out there, guys.
Yeah, those were kind of older. There's always been some bluebacks in there. And I know the guys at Oneida are going to slaughter me that I get this recap wrong, but I feel like I kind of understand it. But the goby eaters, so the smallmouth have done the same thing on Oneida that they've done on Champlain. They've gotten out there and they just are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, 1/4 pound a year. So what was a 2 3/4 was then as a 3. And now, I mean, I think I probably caught 100 total over the 5 days that I was out there. So, I mean, it's not like every cast, but it's good ones. And I think I had 4 that were under 2 pounds, and 90% of them were 3 1/4 to 4 pounds. Now, in the entire camp, there wasn't a 5-pounder caught. There was like a 489. So we're not talking giants, but I mean, just those freaking good quality smallmouth.
Yeah.
You can catch them from a popper to a flatworm to dragon.
Sounds like Champlain.
Yeah, jerk bait, spinner bait, crank bait. You can do a tube. You can do it in 6 inches and sight fish them on rock and grass. You can go out deep and drop shot them. You can do whatever you want.
That's cool.
It's a cool lake, man. When you're driving past it one time, you pass over that highway and you look to your left and there's that matted grass.
We'll probably go there at some point. I mean, I don't know why we haven't, but
it's a really, really cool lake. It's not good for an open when you've got 250 boats. It's an absolute disaster with that many and that much pressure on it, because it doesn't get any pressure. But like, I mean, right now there's like 5 boats on the lake probably.
Yeah.
And there will be the whole week. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's one of those cool lakes. Do you have like any of those lakes where like when you launch, you just like find yourself, you've got kind of like a little bit of a grin on your face as you idle out, and it just feels different? Like, what are those lakes for you?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Champlain's one of those lakes where you dump in and you go out and like you're probably going to go at some point during the day. You're going to find a wad of fish and see something really cool. Like that's one lake that I'm always thinking that, you don't know if you're going to catch them on top water or, drop shot or flipping or what, but, it's just such a good lake. That's one lake to me that I just, love to launch the boat at. You're just fired up to go out there and on a Wednesday and nobody's out there and no tournament, and you just want to just go whack them. It's pretty cool.
It is. And then, I mean, are you like that with Gunnersville, or do you get tired of Gunnersville?
I don't really go out there as much as I used to, and it probably showed in our tournament. It's kind of disappointing growing up on a lake, but man, it changed so much. And it's not the same like, oh, if you got the spot, you're going to catch them how it used to be. It's you have to have the spot, and you have to have the right bait, and you have to be there at the right time to catch a big stringer. And so it's not just pull up and throw a 10XD or throw a whatever that we used to throw, like, and just catch 20 fish at a time. It's just different now. So, but I mean, I like different times of year at Gunnersville, just maybe not the middle of the summer, but pre-spawn, trapping, stuff like that. And I get fired up with that.
It's good stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go, dude. I greatly appreciate it. Like I said, I know you had, would you have a home inspection this morning? Like a you had some.
No, I had a dude coming in. It was a contractor.
Okay. You had a grown up
remodel. Yeah, remodel deal. And then Baker's running around just being absolutely going berserk. So
he's down for a nap right now.
Yeah, he's down for a nap. He'll be up soon.
How long does that last?
Probably not much longer.
Is he like you? Like, you remind you of yourself as a little kid, or?
I mean, I don't remember when I was.
I know, but do people say like, "Oh, it's like you," or is he more energetic?
Yeah, he may be a little more energetic. Yeah,
that's exciting. Good for you. Yeah. Enjoy that.
I will. Don't worry.
All right, I'll see you at ICAST.
I'll see you down there, buddy. Thanks.
All right, see you. All right, that is Jordan Lee. Going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, talk a little bit about what we have going on this week, what we have going on from ICAST, and wrap things up. BTL on a Monday, July 10th. We'll be back right after this.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com.
The great thing about the new Sensation soft plastics from Big Bite Baits, heavily scented, super soft, buoyant, comes in 7 great new shapes. I've got a couple of them of my signature series, the cliffhanger worm and the ramtail craw, great for a flipping jig, football jig, swim jig, all that. Several other great shapes. Really excited about it. We've worked over the last year, catches fish all over the country, and I think it's going to catch fish for people everywhere you try it.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
All right, we are back wrapping things up on a Monday. Want to give a shout out to Jordan Lee for jumping on. Not exactly sure what the ICAST schedule is going to be. I'm going to try to do 2 live shows from ICAST. And then next week, we'll be doing live shows from the St. Lawrence River. I have a little cool setup where I'm staying, what I'm doing. So I should have good internet service, should be good to go during that. If you have won a prize pack over the past couple of months, all of those are out in the mail. The Chad Shad, the X Zone, plastics, all that stuff is out, and greatly appreciate the feedback. So thanks for jumping on. We had really good viewer participation and numbers for a little bit of a different time, a noon show. So stay tuned to basszone.com and also my Instagram, just at Matt Pengrak, for an update on when we will have new BTLs. But from New York, that's all we got. We'll see you guys not tomorrow, because we're going to be flying tomorrow and then actually have a conference call about some really cool stuff that's going down on day 4 that Frank and I will be able to talk about in the near future. But hopefully on Wednesday, the first day ICAST, will have a live show. So stay tuned. Like I said, basszone.com, just that main moniker there. I'll show you what time it'll be at. So that's all we got. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see everybody Wednesday. Later.